Hey everybody. I'm not sure why I'm even making this video. Actually, I just don't know. But before I start talking about what the title of this video describes, I just want to let everyone know that I'm not trying to make this video as a cry for help, a way to seek attention, or swaying opinions, or anything of that matter. I'm simply making this video because I want to give you guys a more in-depth view on my mental health, and also to give you guys, hopefully for those that are watching, a better understanding as to what's really going on in my head as of right now, because it's been not good, to say the least. So I need to start off by saying that for those of you that know who I am, I have been struggling with Asperger's syndrome for pretty much my entire life, and I've been on this earth for nearly 28 years. That alone has its struggles, but there's a lot more to my mental health than just that. There's also, depression, PTSD, anxiety, the whole shit, I guess you could say. But I guess I really need to start this off, I guess sometime around 2019, maybe, just to where stuff really got bad, or should I say, like, where things took a turn. That wasn't 2019. It was a weird year. I thought I was getting back together with my ex, and I got a new job. Another factory job, but it's still another job. But yeah, that wasn't the case. And to make matters worse, I was just working with her in the same place. During that year, there was a time when I woke up and I genuinely didn't feel anything. Like, I went through pretty much the entire day without feeling a single emotion. I didn't feel anything. And one day it turned into a week, then a week turned into a month, and pretty much for almost a whole year, I pretty much didn't feel any of my emotions. I don't know what caused it, I don't know what happened. It just, one day my brain just turned off my emotions. It wasn't until after, I think probably like July 2020 is when things took a turn for me in a more brighter direction. And by that I mean I tied up some loose ends with some people that I thought I cared about, and they thought they cared about me, and I just went on with my life, and I started, I started my Twitch journey. I started in June, but I didn't really start streaming for real until probably maybe at the end of July that year. But what I set out to do when I started streaming was to form new bonds, make friends, show people my love of Pokemon, and just, that's pretty much all I was doing. And for about between that time and 2022, That was probably the highest point in my life, honestly. I gained a lot of friends through the platform. I was having a lot of fun shiny hunting, doing challenge runs, just hanging out with people in different streams, and just being socially active for the first time, and pretty much since I graduated college back in 2017. And the highest point of all of that was a event which we dubbed when Twitch became real in September of 2022, when me actually I'll just name these guys by usernames. It was when me, Strix the Lion, Belladonna Took, Jurassic Nate, which at the time he was Nate Hawk 19. No wait, no, he changed his name before the trip. Jurassic Nate, Big Ape 93, and Strix's partner Kiba all took a trip to Western Tennessee, and we all met for the first time. And for about 3 days, I I felt more alive in those 3 days than I had had in a long time. But unfortunately, this is something that I have fundamentally come to believe is real since about 2015, is my curse. And what I mean by that is, whenever I tend to enjoy my life, whether it be for a day or just do something to try to positively impact my own life, something bad always happens, and it just derails the entire feeling and process that I had gained throughout whatever I was doing. And unfortunately, the curse, or should I say, the curse in life, affected the one living creature that I loved more than life itself. My baby cat, Dominic. On the last day of the trip, on the last day of the trip before we went home, I got a call from my sister, who was cat sitting for me, and she said that Dominic was having a real utteral meow and just didn't sound right. I thought she was over exaggerating it because Dom's meow had gotten a little cackly in his older years, but the second I got home, I knew something was wrong. Well, actually, the reason why I'm telling this story is because this was honestly, this was the spark that honestly set forth the mental health path that I had been on for the past 2 years. And there have been some high points, but most of the time it's just been really low points. But back to Dominic. I rushed him to the emergency vet, and not only did they tell me he had a lining of air surrounding his esophagus, they also told me that he had developed something called hyperthyroidism, which is when your thyroid glands start producing I keep forgetting the exact hormone name, but it basically sends your thyroid gland into overdrive, and it speeds up metabolism, and it just starts. It would start, for cats at least. It starts like eating away at their body fat and soon to be the rest of their body. So Dom started going on medicine, and ever since that day, his meow was never the same, and I never heard him purr again. And pretty much every day for a long time, I feared that when I woke up, that he was either going to be so sick that I had to take him back to the vet, or he wouldn't be there anymore. that was something that was just something that was really tough for me. I didn't really talk about this with anybody because um I I have a hard time opening up about my 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 bad parts of my life and my demons to people because throughout my life I've had so much negativity and darkness consume my life that I honestly didn't want to open up this much to people because I just feared that when I did, all it would do was just drive them away. I mean, there were some things that I talked about that people were open with, like a few years, about a year into my content creation journey, I shared with the world that that I'm a rape survivor, and the 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 out the community response was just so positive and so positively overbearing that I honestly couldn't believe how much people were supporting me and not trying to not trying to be trolls or anything like that. But when it came to Dom's health, or should I say, when I updated Dom's health whenever I could, but when it came to my mental health regarding the whole thing, I didn't really keep people in the loop because I just, like I said, just I feared just letting people in. I always have a shield up, whether it's doing anything. I always have some form of shield up, and that's something that I've been dealing with ever since I was a teenager. Tried and tried and tried, but nothing seemed to work. So there was I wouldn't so this fear went on until about December. It was still there for a while, but December is when something bad happened to me, where almost well I could have died. It was December 19th, 2022, and I had a work related accident. I was doing something that I shouldn't have done, and I was working on a forklift on a pallet in the air, and the pallet was connected to to our loading dock about 20 feet in the air, and I stupidly walked to the left side of it, and I fell. Well, the pallet took me with it, and I fell about 20 feet. The pallet fell because it didn't have any bottom support boards on the bottom. It was one of those like open face pallets. Um, and unfortunately, the fall, um, I I injured my back pretty good. Had a giant gash on my back, and I had a big scratch in my head, and it was never confirmed because I was cognitive. They never did a CAT scan or an MRI of my head to see if there was any brain bleeds or just any signs of bruising or possible signs of a concussion. They never checked for any of that. They only focused on the giant gaping wound on my back and my wrist and my legs. So I'm more than positive that I got concussed that day. I mean, when you have autism and you get a concussion, that's something that I have feared for pretty much since I was about 15. I always feared injuring my head because I feared that um because the way my brain works, I don't know if I would wind up worse or if I would just or I would be the same. I genuinely didn't know. But it was the hours leading up to my surgery is when like it's just when the morality of my life really just really just really just really just kicked in, because I was lying in a pool of my own blood for about 6 hours waiting to get surgery. I had a giant gaping hole in my back, and I had to wait 6 hours to get sewn up and worked on. So that whole time I was just laying there flat on my back with nobody, because no one was there. I mean, I had my phone, but I had low battery, so I had to preserve when I had to talk to people, but I had no one there. I was terrified. It was probably the most scared I had been my entire life, because not only was I lying there thinking I was gonna die, I had to think about Dom and Patches at home, because Dom was sick, and I didn't know who was gonna take care of him if that was it for me. And Patches was so antisocial that I don't believe anyone else would have been able to open up his heart again. I feared more for my cat's lives that day than I did my own, because I loved my animals more than I loved my own life. But it just showed, lying in that hospital, lying in a pool of my own blood, just really made me realize made me realize how fragile life is, and it just also reassured my hatred for the medical business, because I had to wait 6 hours. 6 hours to get surgery. And I couldn't stand up to take a piss without nearly passing out. And literally 30 minutes before my surgery, I had to pee so bad that I thought I was gonna piss myself right there. So a nurse escorted me to the bathroom, and I remember, relieving myself, and then the next thing I know, I'm on the ground, and this guy's covered in my blood. And again, I was not only petrified, I was also really ashamed, because I had gotten so weak physically that I couldn't stand up on my own 2 legs and go to the bathroom without assistance, and also without passing out. When they finally rolled me into that surgery room, I was so over everything that I honestly was so done that I didn't care if I didn't wake up. Do you know what that kind of stuff does to you? To make yourself think that not only are you completely alone in your hospital room without nobody there to hold your hand or just to give you assurance that you're gonna be okay, but to also just be so over it that you don't care if you wake up. I mean, that sounds extremely depressing, and it is, and that's what that's what I dealt with. And to top it all off, before they put me under, I genuinely thought I was going to die. And before I passed out, I screamed out with the last amount of energy I could. I screamed out to somebody that I honestly didn't think I would scream out to. I screamed out to, well, someone that I dubbed my one that got away. I screamed out to the girl that I loved in high school, that I had to forget about loving, and I screamed out to her. I screamed out her name, thinking that I lost all love for her. But when I did that, I realized not only that I still loved her, that if I knew that if I was going to wake up again, I would do whatever I could to reconnect with her. So obviously I woke up, and after I got home, um, after I got home, I updated I updated my Twitch community. I updated the socials about what happened and the extent of my injuries and everything else. And there was, of course, everyone was so kind and generous after I got hurt, and I just it meant a lot. It meant a lot to me that everyone cared about me so much. It meant a lot. 2023 is when things started looking up, but then they also completely downward spiraled. So that year, I rebranded my Twitch channel to a new name. Before I was known as the Pokey Network, I was known as the S Pokey Network. So I just rebranded and I started a podcast series, and I got better physically, and I reconnected with that girl that I said that I loved, and things were going good for a minute. But as I as I got better physically, um, I started to open up to the girl more about what happened that day, and when I told her that I called out for her before I passed out, that's pretty much when shit hit the fan, because after that she pretty much wanted nothing to do with me, and I was heartbroken again, and just a lot of stuff was happening also during that time. I was feeling burnt out. Um I was feeling burnt out from playing video games and a whole bunch of other stuff with life, that I just needed to step away from it for a little while. So I took a 2 week break from Twitch at the beginning of June of that year, and I came back for my 3 year Twitch anniversary stream. Now, I'm gonna be as brutally honest as I can about what happened after that stream. So, I don't really pay attention to the numbers of a stream while I'm live. I don't care I don't care about my view count, or amount of subscribers or bits or anything else that I get during a stream. I'm there because I just there because I wanted to have fun, and I just wanted to give everyone a good show. I streamed for 12 hours that day. I don't remember I don't remember much about how the stream went as a whole, but what I do remember is I checked the stats of that stream after everything else. Normally, I don't let the performance of a stream get to me, but this time it did. It did because the stream performed extremely terrible. Like, I streamed for 12 straight hours, and the stats of it were on par with a stream that I did about 3 weeks prior that was only a 4-hour stream. I genuinely felt defeated with the results. I don't know why it was like that for me. It's just, I think it was because I went into the stream thinking it was going to be one of my greatest streams ever, but obviously, because I was optimistic, I was extremely let down. And that's one of the things I try not to do with a lot of things, is go into anything extremely optimistic. But because I had streamed in 2 weeks, I was hopeful. I was optimistic. But obviously, the universe has a really, 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 really evil way of just slapping people in the face when they need a good positive note the most. At least the way I've seen it, that was a turning point in how I was doing my content. I was so emotionally distraught over the PTSD from my fall, my long ongoing issues with my PTSD regarding my brother, having the constant looming sickness of Dominic, and then getting my heart broken by the girl that I loved. It was too much. Way too much. And what happened was something that I hadn't been affected by for probably since 2017 returned after 5 years. My differential identity disorder. When I first revealed the truth about my brother, my brain developed an alter to cope with all the pain that I was dealing with during that time. I guess to give me some form of mental break. I don't know. But I knew that it was back because one night before I went to bed, started to get this bad panic attack. And I had this sinking feeling in my heart, and it felt like my heart stopped beating. That's when I knew that he was back. And the next morning, I woke up and I saw that I sent a message to the girl that I loved saying, and I quote, "I wish that fall would have taken me. Goodbye." Then I saw that my alter sent the message and blocked her at the same time, including removing her from my Discord and various other socials. This was the first time that my alter actually tried to cut someone off from my life. Because before, he would only talk. Only a few people knew that I had one, and my alter would talk to them from time to time if he was out. But this was the first time that he actually tried to cut someone off from my life who was causing me pain. And I don't understand why he did. To this day, I don't understand why he did that. But after all that, like I said, during that time, but back to what I was talking about with my creation, at some point I was doing the creation because I needed some sort of distraction. And I'm ashamed to admit this, but I honestly was using my Twitch streams, my TikTok, my various other things. So I lined up so many stream projects that I was just keeping my mind busy. Just trying to keep my mind busy and not try to think about all the pain and bullshit that was going on in my life. There were some people that I talked to a little bit about it, but I didn't let them in on the entire scope of what was going on in my head. I should have, but I didn't. And the reason why I never actually went to get assistance with therapy or meds or anything like that is because my job does not cover medical insurance, and if I needed insurance, I would have to pay for it out of my own pocket because getting it through work was expensive. Like $80 a week expensive, when normally most companies take like maybe 40 to 30 to 40 bucks out of your paycheck for medical insurance. But that wasn't the case. Because I work in a mom and pop style shop where it's not like a giant corporation. So I was just lining up stream projects left and right, and just I was focusing more on putting stuff out there than I was about having fun with all of this, which is why I started this in the first place. Along the lines, I stopped having fun. I put on a show making people believe that I was, but there are people that I've known for a long time that saw right through it. And sometimes they called me out on it, and sometimes they didn't. Most of the time they didn't. But there was even a point in September of 2023 that I tried to just take my mind off of it, not streaming wise, and I went to a Nickelback concert, and I went to South Carolina to visit Strix, and I mean, in ways I was having fun. But I knew that the second I got home, I knew that I was just gonna go right back to where I was. In all honesty, after I left South Carolina, I just wanted to take my car and choose a direction that wasn't west, and take myself in that direction. I didn't want to go home. I felt so sad and depressed that I didn't want to go back home. But I knew that I did. I knew that I had to go home. Because there were two living creatures there that needed me. And I needed them. And this goes back to my cats, because my cats were my center of my world for years. I had them both for combined 15 and a half years. And the reason why I say had is because as of recording this, they're both gone. I'll talk more about that in a minute, but after Dom was getting a little bit better, that's when Patches got sick. And at the time, I couldn't afford to take him to the vet, so I had to do every type of home remedy that I could to try to keep him better. And what was happening with Patches was that he was developing this, I'm pretty sure that he was allergic to fleas. And the reason why I got like this flea infestation is because my boss is such a pushover that he allowed our new IT guy to bring in not one, but two flea-ridden mutts into the shop. And anytime I had to go by that guy's office, guess what? He had the dogs there. And I'm more than positive those dogs had fleas. And they jumped on me, and they came home with me, and then they infested the apartment. I've tried numerous things to get rid of them. Nothing worked. I'd use flea medicines. I used flea shampoos. I didn't use flea bombs because I didn't want to bomb my house. I tried light traps. various other things, and none of them worked. But back to what I was saying about Patches, he was getting so bad that he was like biting and itching himself to so bad that he was eating away all his fur. His skin was so bad. There was a point where I put a cone on him, and after his skin like cleared up, I brushed his fur, and he started developing these clear welts. He started developing these welts, and his skin got red, and his skin started seeping this white fluid, or this clear fluid. And again, I tried everything to get him better. Nothing helped. And that's when this year rolled around, and I pretty much between January and at the end of April, I lost everything. I lost everything that I cared about. I mean, the year started off good when I had the 1-year anniversary of my podcast, and I had 2K followers on Twitch. It was going good. It was going good like that, but I was still doing what I was doing, and I was just pushing stuff without thinking about, just trying to be me. And the whole time I was just redeveloping this on-screen persona of the Top Goon, where I was just dressed up in like this, weird-ass fancy getup most of the time, and I don't know. But during the beginning of the month, I guess you could say I got closer with some. I'm not going to name these people because I don't want to bring any attention to stuff that happened between us, but I started doing some collabs with some other creators that I've known for a while, and I'll be genuinely honest. When we did our first collab together, that was probably the first time ever since Dom got sick that I felt truly, like, without a shadow of a doubt, I felt true happiness. For the first time since my baby got sick, I felt so happy. I was having fun. I actually had fun. I was interacting with people, and it was just I was getting closer with people that I wanted to be friends with, and I did. And the month was going good, then February hit, and that's when Patches got so bad that his skin got so bad, he was so irritable and everything else that one morning I tried to pull him out from underneath the bed because he got the cone off his head, and I knew that if I didn't put it back on him, he was just going to chew himself raw again. But he latched onto my arm, claws, teeth, and all, and he just sank his fangs into my hand, and he would not let go. Like, this wasn't a playful bite. He bit me. Like, he bit me so bad that there was pouring blood all over him, myself, my floor, my walls, my sink. There was blood everywhere. And when I had him in my hand that didn't get bit, he was just hissing, and he was so mad when I saw him hissing and yelling at me with my blood covering his mouth. That's when I knew that my baby was gone. That's when I knew that the cat that I had for 12 years, he was gone mentally. He was gone. 2 weeks later, he started getting, like, after
after he bit me, he got really skinny, and I made the painful choice of putting him down. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to save him, but after what happened, after he bit me, I had to think about not only myself but also Dominic, because he and Dom get into scuffles all the time, and I knew that if he did that to me, he would have probably killed Dominic, and I couldn't bear that thought. I couldn't bear to think like that. So after I lost Patches, I tried my best to stay in touch with people and stuff, but I just isolated myself. I felt so heartbroken that I was just locking myself away, both mentally and physically, that I didn't know what I was gonna do. That's when one of the people that I collabed with in the month prior, they started talking to me, like, you know, getting close. This person and I started getting closer beforehand, but this is when this person, like, I don't know what how do I say this? I don't know what convinced this person mentally to try to keep me sane, or just what caused this person to just talk to me every day for probably 3 weeks. Like, this person contacted me every day, making sure I was okay, for about 3 weeks, and this person just wouldn't leave me alone, and it meant the world to me. And I got closer to this person. We became, I wouldn't say the best of friends, but we became closer friends than we were. This person contacted me more than the people that I had grown to know for the past 4 years. Now, to be fair, I wasn't keeping in frequent contact with a lot of them. To be fair on myself. But the fact that someone that I only knew for about a year was staying up with me until 3 o'clock in the morning, making sure I was okay, over people that I've known for years who rarely kept in touch with me. It just, and that also was hurting my mental state, because it seemed like that no one really cared, and that's what my mind was making me believe. That even though I had less people contact me that I could count on one hand, keep in touch with me after Patches died. That it just really got me to think negatively, and I was just really not doing good after that. About a month after that, that's when shit hit the fan for my Twitch journey. I was doing a Nuzlocke, and I was having a lot of deaths in the run, and I was getting really aggravated, and I was getting really distraught over how bad I was performing. I keep telling my mods that, like, when I get like that, do not tell me to calm down because it just makes me worse. And that's just been a mental thing that I have had since I was a kid. When people tell me to calm down, it makes me worse. But people tend to forget something like that, so they just kept telling me to calm down. So at one point, I don't even remember what I yelled, but I just yelled at one of them, and I just didn't mean to, and it just shit hit the fan after that. I got DMs from them while I was live, and just shit hit the fan, and I stopped streaming during the middle of the stream, and that was the last time that I went live for a while because I went on hiatus. I officially went on hiatus to work out stuff that was going on behind the scenes, and it didn't pan out. It didn't work. Because after that, pretty much 3/4 of my mod team just didn't want anything to do with me anymore, and they just, I mean, I don't blame them for how I was acting, but if I had just talked to them and just let them know what the hell was going on in my head, maybe things would have been different. But I let my darkness, I let my inner demons win, and I just lost my friends. I was losing the people that I cared about the most, and I couldn't deal with it. I lost one of my cats. I lost my will to stream. I lost my friends. Like, I was losing everything left and right. I tried to even the grounds, and I try to, make things right by them, but obviously that didn't pan out because at the end of April, that's when the last nail hit the coffin for everything, is because that person that I was talking about previously, who kept in contact with me and became good friends with me, that's when my DID got the best of me, and I got upset about something, and I had a massive panic attack so bad that I passed out. And the next thing I knew, I woke up the next day finding out that that I sent a guilt message to this person, and not only did they pretty much cut ties with me, the two people that on top of that that I collabed with during that, they cut ties with me as well. One of them fully blocked me. The other one just unfollowed me and didn't speak to me. And that's pretty much when I knew that that was it for me in terms of content creation. So I made the announcement that I was formally retiring from streaming, and I didn't think that I was ever going to come back. That was like the last nail in the coffin for me, because like I lost my cat, my friends, my channel. I lost everything because I wasn't more open about my mental health, and I never did anything to help myself. That everything just went to shit. But I was like, how could it possibly get any worse? Well, life is a cruel, demonic bitch. Because a month later, I woke up one morning. I woke up on Memorial Day this year, and Dominic was lying next to me. When I woke up, and Dominic was lying with me, and he had his mouth open. He was having trouble breathing, so I rushed him to the emergency vet, where he got looked at 2 years prior, and they told me that there was a lining of fluid surrounding his lungs. And most likely this was the first stage of heart failure. And there are treatment options for cats with heart failure, but that revolves around more medicine, tests, and just round the clock treatment. And I knew that I couldn't put my best friend through all of that. So again, I had to make the painful choice. And that's where I lost that's where I lost Dominic. And Dominic, I had for 15 and a half years. I knew the exact day he was born. I had him since he was since he was first born. I had him since he fit in the palm of my hand. I had him for everything in my life ever since I was 12. Ever since I was 12, I had him for every single day for 15 and a half years. And my best friend was gone. The last thing in my life that I wanted to wake up and live for was gone. In the span of 5 months, I lost everything that I cared about. Both my cats, my closest friends, my will to stream. I was at rock bottom, and I have been at rock bottom ever since. I mean, I bit the bullet a few months ago, and I got medical insurance, so I've been seeing a therapist, and I'm on antidepressants / anxiety meds. But it's like, at this point in my life, it's not really doing anything, because I genuinely don't see a reason why I should even exist right now. Because anything that I had that I wanted to wake up and live for is gone. I don't even like what I do for a living, and it sucks. I don't even want to go to work. I don't want to do anything. I'm just existing day by day, just praying to God that something positive happens. But even though I got a newfound faith in the Lord, my prayers go unanswered. And at this point in my life, I don't know what to do. I did do something to honor my boys. I did a 1,000 piece puzzle for them, and I streamed it a couple of times because when I was working on it, I didn't really want to be alone for it. And it just again I was actually there was only one thing I was hoping for with doing the puzzle. It's just that I just hope that people would see this and just come for emotional support, and people did, but my closest friends, they steered away. Again. I mean, I've only, like, that one person that I hurt at the end of April, they saw that I lost Dom, and they actually reached out to me and sent me their condolences. But I'm not gonna name this person specifically, but one of the people that I was close with, who I had known before I even hit 100 followers on Twitch, he hates me so much that he hates me so much that he doesn't even bother to message me, and he didn't even bother to reach out after Dominic died. I don't blame him for not reaching out. I don't blame anyone for not reaching out to me. but I don't know who to reach out to because I don't know who to turn to. I don't think I am the worst person on planet Earth. I don't believe that. But my mind just makes me think that I am the worst of the worst. And this is making me think that I'm worse than a man who was known as, you know what, I'm not even gonna name this guy because he was a disgusting pig. He used his Twitch platform to cheat on his wife with over half a dozen women, and it seems like that I'm worse than him. Yeah, I don't believe in something like that, but the way my mind likes to make me think, it just makes me think that I am the worst scum on the face of the earth, and if something doesn't change, I feel like if something doesn't change, I'm gonna start believing that. And I don't want to believe that. Because I try to hold on to the good memories that I've had over the past 4 years, but it's hard for me to hold on to them because the things that reminded me of them are gone. And I don't know what to do. I'm so lost. I don't know who to talk to. I don't know. I also just believe that there's not a single person or single being on this planet that needs me. Before I lost the boys, there were living creatures that needed me. But now it seems like no one needs me anymore. Which is one of the reasons why my mind's making me think that I don't need to exist. But I'm not stupid enough to do the impossible or commit the unforgivable sin, because I'm just holding on to that little, like, the faintest shred of hope that one day something happens. Hell, maybe if I actually post this video, maybe I'll... No, that's not what I'm hoping for this. I'm just doing this because I just want anyone who is willing to listen, I want to give them the best perspective on my mental health and what's going on in my head as I can. But if you're wondering what I'm feeling right now or what's going on, like what's the course of action right now, it's basically there's no feeling. I mean, yes, I was getting choked up and I was getting upset earlier, but after I turn off the camera, I'm not going to be able to feel anything. I've just been emotionless and numb for as long as I can, pretty much, you know what I mean. I'm gonna go back to the content creation scene. I don't know, because I don't know if I have the right to go back. I don't know if people that would even want to see me come back. I don't know any of that, or I don't want to think about that, because I'm just trying to work on my mental health, which I'm still taking medicine for. I'm going to therapy, but like I said, it's not really putting a dent into anything, and I'm still not feeling my own emotions naturally. All I can hope for in the future is if I can get better mentally, and people see that people that people will
people that I want back in my life will probably maybe give me a second chance. So I have such a strong sense of loyalty that it's hard for me to let any of the bonds I form go. Which is also a reason why I haven't tried to get a new cat since I lost the boys, is because I'm so strongly emotionally connected to them that I can't bear the thought of another cat in here that isn't them. So I'm still alone. I've been on my own for almost 2 months now. And it hasn't been a good feeling. I think that's all I can really say right now about everything. But I want to say before I stop the recording, if there's anyone that's watching this that has not only gotten to this point, but is also one of the people that wants nothing to do with me anymore, I don't blame you for not talking to me. I don't blame you for anything derogatory or anything you've possibly said about me. I don't believe I'm a bad person. I just have extremely bad mental health that I never worked on. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for everything. I didn't want things to turn out like this. I just wanted to be happy. I just wanted to be a part of your lives. God bless anyone who's watched this, and thank you for listening.